So,
Conversation around improving public safety around the greater Portland metro area continues. TriMet is looking to expand its award-winning safety response team.
now that is about as clear as an example of false propaganda as you can get. Here's the mainstream media saying something. It's award-winning strategy which was bestowed on them by their, what is it called? What's the word with the APTA is a trade, yeah, by their trade organization. Okay. APTA gives awards to people that belong to its organization, and that's where that award comes from. But they made sure to put that in the right in the beginning. Award winning, just so you know, complete false propaganda. And that's your mainstream media for you. That's what you get out of mainstream media is garbage. I never watch mainstream media, of course. I'm not stupid. But I'll see things that are related to the TriMet fixation and I'll watch it. And this was really I can't believe it. Well, of course I can believe it. I mean, if you can get people to believe that the war in Ukraine is for democracy, well, why wouldn't you believe that the safety response is award winning? Of course you would. I mean, if you're dumb enough to believe one, why wouldn't you be dumb enough to believe the other? And that's how our entire society functions. And some of us know that, and some of us don't. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying their little safety team isn't bad. Is bad. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is we listen to the operation, okay? Me and other people. It's look, you're not the chances of you actually getting mugged are just about zero. The chances of you getting high on somebody's drugs is about zero. Actually, it is zero. That's all hysteria. Now, as far as the collapsing civilization, this little idea is a good idea. You know, you have these people running around doing whatever they want, looking for the ditch people and trying to help them. Of course, I'm in favor of that. But don't try to paint lipstick on a pig. Now, we got Pooty finishing yesterday's calls and PDX scanners back in action. So I can go back to this ridiculous, terrible. This is just terrible, but I have to watch it. I'm compelled to watch it. It's like I can't help myself. I have to see it. So let's keep going.
Thank you.
So we just got look at him. Look at the smugness on his face. Look at that smug ass face. This is an elite that's proud to be an elite, and all of the board members support his elitism. Meanwhile, we know the truth about what has happened under his reign. He collapsed his own system intentionally. He's blaming it on the so-called worker shortage. But of course, they didn't do anything to change it. It took them like 2 years before they decided to offer the damn bonus, so they knew what they were doing. And then he cut the service 22%, and then he raised the fares 12%. That's called austerity. That's what he actually did. He screwed the riders royally, and nobody will pick that up but one obscure guy that nobody pays attention to, which is me. But I know the truth, and even if I'm the only witness to the truth, that's why I keep going. That's why I keep going. Even if there's one soul on the planet that's looking at this from the critic's point of view, while 99.9% of everybody thinks they're great, makes my continuing even more important. So let's continue.
Very much, General Manager Dessou. And I see we have a hand raised. Director Edwards.
Yes, thank you for that comprehensive report. But I really wanted to give the staff and you kudos as well for supporting the LGBTQI community. Our public face needs to be out there supporting all of our communities, and certainly they appreciated the.
Let's talk about that for a minute. You know, I used to go to the gay. Well, I used to live in San Francisco. Okay, back in the 80s. And I used to go to the gay parades over there, and they're extremely enjoyable because there's some pretty strange people parading, and it's an enjoyable sight to watch because you don't see it every day. So the point I'm making is this has never been an issue until recently. All of a sudden, this is brought to the forefront. I mean, there's always been this in the community, and it's never really been like problem before. Now all of a sudden, it's this problem. Now, how did that happen? How did all this happen? Well, I'll tell you how it happened. Mainstream media fomented the division of society, which Trump started. Okay, let's look at that honestly. He started all of this. This was the beginning of the Great Divide. Was Trump's election, and now it's some kind of issue everywhere, which I don't understand. I mean, why would anybody care if people have their own parade? You don't have to go to it if you don't like it. I mean, it's not an issue. It never was an issue until now. And I'm talking about the 80s when we used to go to the gay parade in San Francisco.
Service and the attendance there and supporting them in their celebration. So thank you again.
Yes, we know you're like part of this woke culture. We know that you have to be vocal about it. And I don't know why anybody cares about it in the first place. Why is it even an issue? They've always had these parades. It's not like something new. And TriMet's always had their little bus. I mean, if they want to have a parade, let them. I mean, what is all the issue? What's the issue now? I just don't get it. Well, I don't get anything in society now. I think the society is completely collapsing in front of our eyes, and nobody's tracking on it.
All right. Yes, I saw the itchy fingers. Yes, Director Frisbee.
I'm working on that. Thank you, President Gonzalez. Similarly, want to echo
Now, this woman
the
here,
appreciation from Director Edwards, but also
this woman worked for Blumenauer, for Christ's sakes, okay? So, I mean, this is an insider's insider. These people are not representative of the community that they're allegedly represent. And it really bothers me that this is the way that things work over here, is that this governor gets to appoint insiders to run the agency. All the riders are excluded and all the people doing the work are excluded. This is a corrupt system, ladies and gentlemen. Just no other way to put it.
also General Manager Dessou. I'm wondering if the board can get a detailed update on the Forward Together, what lines, the changes that are going to happen next month, if it's possible to just get those emailed out.
Yeah,
We'll do that, and
yeah, I mean, this Forward Together is the biggest psyop. Well, no, it's not. Actually, the McFarland psyop was bigger. And that was where he cut fairly square. He stole our retirement benefits. He degraded the job of bus operator. That was a bigger psyop than this. This is more of the New World Order psyop. Impose austerity and call it something else. But this is a psyop. I mean, they had a perfectly decent system. And for reasons that we'll never know, they decided to just change it all around. And at the same time, cut the service. And then now he says they'll bring it back by 2030. And he's a liar. You know, he can lie with this. He's good at this guy. I don't think he's very smart, Sam. I think he's not all that bright. But I think he's very good at presenting the face, that smiling face of his is perfect for this job. And he's black, of course, so that's part of the, and we already saw that doesn't mean anything with the presidency of Barack Obama, who threw out 2 million people from their homes and bailed out the banks. And I fell for that psyop in 2008. I actually voted for him because he was black. I'll admit it. I wanted to, it would have been great. And I voted for him. And then right away, I saw that I got fooled again, just like I got fooled in this last election. I didn't think it was possible to be worse than Trump. It is. Every president we get is worse than the one before it. Have you noticed that? Every president we keep getting is worse than the one previous.
probably somewhere at the end of the board, I'll have Alan have something together before you leave. If not, we'll get it at in the next week.
Thank you so much.
And finally, I would love to just add my 2 cents on the recognition of the value that it has, not just to our community, but I think to our internal staff, for us to step outside and humanize one another, be ourselves, and I think participating in the parade,
Sure.
encouraging staff, wrapping those
Sure.
buses, has a lot.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I have nothing. Sure, you want to have the parade, have the parade. Why would anybody care? Okay, why would anybody make an issue of it? It's not an issue. Never has been an issue. It's only recently it's been an issue, and I'm not sure how this happened.
Of dividends in our community building, and at a time when we're trying to invite our riders to come back out, see what we've been doing, and at a time when we're trying to invite people to join the TriMet team
Oh
and
my
become
God.
a part of our operations. I think
Oh, isn't Ozzy good? This guy is good. He's good. He looks good. He talks good. He's gonna attain office eventually, I guarantee you.
it's things like this that really show that, yes, all are welcome. Yes, we are moving
All
forward
are
together,
welcome.
and it's great to
All are
see it.
welcome unless you're a biohazard or they don't like the way you behave or you're acting weird. Then you get the ditch, okay? They don't have any concept of what's actually happening on their operation. They have no idea. I think they really have no idea. I don't think these board members even think about TriMet unless they're at this board meeting. I think that's what it is. I think they come once a month and have their little meeting, but other than that, they're not thinking about TriMet. They got their own lives, whatever the hell they're doing. They're not sitting around like me with all the time in the world to do what I want. I do what I want because I'm not stuck in this on the wheel anymore. All of these people are on the wheel, including him. He's not retired. He's got ambitions.
Us out there in the community. So great to see us out there, and congrats to everyone that participated. I'm jealous I couldn't join you that day. And with that, I'd love to close up the general manager's report. I do have one bit of housekeeping before we move to the next item on the agenda. I received a written summary of the MPAC meeting that occurred on June 28th. So for the record, I would love to make sure to get a little of information about what happened there for us today. So I'm going to jump backwards in time just for a second to the committee reports to add a brief summary of the MPAC meeting on behalf of Director Kim, who is not able to join us in our meeting today. So there was a meeting on June 28th. Metro gave an update on the community placemaking grant, which does support community-led arts and culture activities across the region. And applications for that grant cycle are opening up in August, and the next.
See, they have money. They have money for that, but they can't bring your service back. Why aren't people upset about this? They have money for everything except restoring your service. They steal your money. They want more of your money, but they're not restoring your service. Why is nobody upset? Why? Nobody cares?
Cycle of awards will be in January. So I think that's a good thing to bring out to the public. And Metro also presented an update on the TOD, Transit-Oriented Development, which we've been talking about so much. The TOD strategic plan, which formalizes Metro's commitment to fostering.
This doesn't help anybody. Makes a whole bunch of money for everybody involved with it. Doesn't help anybody. It doesn't solve homelessness. Doesn't even put a dent in homelessness. This is another pork barrel scam. Okay, it doesn't help anybody except the people who are involved with it and making money off of it. And I guess eventually some people will live there. It's not going to do anything for the homeless problem.
Equitable and climate-friendly communities along the region's transit system by setting new goals around affordability, climate, and racial equity. The program remains focused on.
Listen to this crap. This is your New World Order crap right here. You know, this is the crap we're listening to. Yeah, we're going to have equity. Everything's going to be great. Just leave it to us. We have a great plan to make everything equitable. Right in front of our eyes, we can see that equity is a joke and inclusion is a joke. We're supposed to not look at any of that.
On building dense housing along frequent transit So we're going to stay tuned for more on that.
Yeah, and we've
And
already
last-
seen how unreliable the transit is. They just cut it. We just cut your transit. We never asked for the public input. We just decided to cut your transit. So if you're going to if you're going to be transit dependent, you better realize that you're completely dependent on government. And that's the worst thing to be dependent on in this time.
Lastly, Metro presented on the potential of middle housing to address some of the region's housing needs. We hear so much about affordable housing. The missing middle is the other piece. This work is going to help inform the council's decision on whether or not to expand.
Yeah, and this is going to actually get built like in 4 years or something. So it doesn't do anything for anybody. Not like we're going to build this right away. If they do in China, when they want to build something, they can get it done in a week. But not here because it's all corrupt. And there's all these layers of bureaucracy that get paid. So, it doesn't do anything. It's a fraud.
Expand the urban growth boundary in the future. So stay tuned for that important conversation. And so with that concludes the items that were brought up at the June 28th MPAC meeting. And I'm sorry, but I won't be able to answer any questions if you have any about that. But I wanted to make sure to get that on record.
What questions?
Any
What is there to say?
comments? All right, and if you have questions, we can certainly get them on record and figure out how to get answers. Okay. All right. With that, I'd like to move us now into the next item on the board meeting, which is the consent agenda. Now, let's turn to the consent agenda. Now, items appearing on the consent agenda are considered routine and may be approved by a blanket motion by the board. And this morning, we have one item on the consent agenda, and it is the approving the minutes from our last meeting, June 28th.
Well, I don't think that's a problem.
So let me ask, would any directors like to request to have this item removed from the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
I hear there's a motion to approve the item
Second.
contained in the consent agenda.
Yeah, second, yeah.
We have a second. Thank you, Director Frisbee. It has been moved and seconded. Does anyone wish to make a comment before we vote? All right, seeing none, we're going to move right to a vote. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Did he,
I gotta get more
Did-
practice with that gavel.
he's got a gavel, finally. Yeah. I want to see you use I want to see you using that gavel, Ozzy.
All right, we I shouldn't be so bashful. We will now move to resolutions. Our first resolution on the agenda is resolution number 23-07-33, authorizing a modification of an intergovernmental agreement.
All right, let's take a look at it. Now, I used to do these presentations ahead of time, but now I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to just do it as they do the board. TriMet currently has an IGA. I can't. I like that. Yeah. For investigative and prosecutorial services with Multnomah County District Attorney. Okay, under the grant reimburses Multnomah County. It's $313,000. That's it. Plus 4%. Total amount is $978. The IGA provides TriMet with services of one designated deputy DA who's assigned to TriMet felony cases. Oh, here it goes. TriMet security staff have cited individuals for criminal conduct on and around the transit system. In addition to charging and prosecuting everybody in jail. That's what we do in America. That's why we have the world's largest prison population of any country on earth. The assigned DA relies upon the service of investigators to ascertain the facts. They have investigators to address criminal activity adjacent to transit system and provide safety for riders and employees. It has become apparent the need for these DA services will increase. We got to throw everybody in jail. We're going to do. The proposed modification would increase IGA by the amount of $1.1 million. Wow, that's a pretty big increase. It's like double. Oh, yeah. See, so as a result, the current would increase from 978 to 2 million. So what do you get for 2 million, I wonder? The additional funds would be used to engage the services of a second deputy DA and add 2 investigators. Ooh. Okay. Centralized misdemeanor case review. Prepare misdemeanor cases for trial. Yeah. Provide MCDA, whatever that is. Service and security. Assistant felony DA. Prepare monthly reports. So yeah, beef. In other words, beef up the police state. Throw more people in jail. That's the country we live in, and this is where we live. Let's not solve any social problems. Let's just throw everybody in jail. That's where we live.
with Multnomah County for District.
For Christ's sakes.
This is the first resolution to come before the board this morning. It's, let's see here. Mr. General Manager, your comments?
Thanks, President Gonzalez, members of the board. We wish to expand the services that Multnomah County District Attorney Office provides TriMet. This will help our efforts to provide safe, reliable transit service.
Yeah, keep saying it over and over. We provide safe, reliable transit. Everybody believes it. Just say it over and over and over. And so does every other transit system. It's the same thing. You're not reliable. You're not safe. Well, you are safe actually. The chances of getting bugged are tiny, and getting high from secondhand smoke are zero. So it actually is a safe system. Even though you have all these fucking hysterics yelling and screaming about all the dispossessed people who have been thrown out on the streets as a result of the scamdemic and the ridiculous rents in Portland. It actually is a safe system. Okay, don't buy the hype, man. You got Lars Larson and the rest of them out there yelling that you're gonna get killed on the train. It's not true. It's not fucking true. You're gonna get killed driving your car like 100 times more probability than riding on this system.
As we work to address and decrease criminal activity happening on or near our transit system. TriMet's current intergovernmental agreement with Multnomah County District Attorney's Office will not expire until 2025. However, this modification will add the services of a second deputy district attorney, plus the services of 2 district attorney investigators to the IGA. Our Executive Director of Security and Safety, Andrew Wilson, has worked on this proposal with the District Attorney's Office. This will bring greater accountability and more justice for those who victimize people on our systems or damage our property. So I want to bring.
And why would anybody do that? Why does everybody hate TriMet drivers so much? I wonder why that could possibly be. Why is there so much violence against operators, not only here but everywhere? I wonder why. Wouldn't be because some of these people actually are mean and abuse people. No, that's not it. Nobody will ever talk about that. No.
Andrew up and also Julian Samuels, our
And here's your little picture. See, we're arresting him. We're throwing him in jail. Let's throw the lunatic people, the red meat. We want everybody in jail, the pooties and hobos. They all want everybody in jail. That's what they want. And that's probably the majority opinion in this country. I mean, I remember their election, was it McGovern and who ran? McGovern ran, I think it was against Reagan. Or maybe it was, I forgot who it was. Anyway, he was the peace candidate. He wanted peace. Maybe it was Nixon. I forgot who. Back when I used to vote and care. Anyway, McGovern got one state, Massachusetts. The guy that wanted peace, and the other 49 states voted for the guy that wanted war. And this is the society we live in. We are a bloodthirsty, mean-ass society. And that's us. That's why we have the most of our own people in jail. That's why we have an elite class of people like him living large, and then there's this class of people in the ditch. And then you have the working class, people like me and others that are driving bus.
DA that's on board with us right now.
All right. Well, good morning, President Gonzalez and TriMet
there.
Board of Directors. It's great
At
to be
least
here with
at
you
least they got a black guy there, right? That's important.
today. I've got a short presentation which will kind of go over our current program. Since taking this role about a year and a half ago, you've heard me bring a lot of new positions and new tools to the system, and also increased personnel, as Director Edwards shared from the CAT committee. We are doing this again in the DA space. I want to introduce a very important person in our program and a friend of mine, Julian Samuels, who is our current Deputy District Attorney and has been doing fabulous work. As we go through the
he's a
slideshow,
district
you're going to see
attorney.
some pictures that I've shared with you before, and you'll see Julian featured prominently because he's a key member of our team.
Is he throwing people in jail? Attaboy! He throw him in jail.
And is out there with us, so we really appreciate him. Next slide, please. So our current DA contract allows us the ability to have a Multnomah County DA embedded with us there at the Public Safety Office, working alongside our transit police, as well as our security personnel to develop and thoroughly investigate cases alongside in real time. Also take advantage of our surveillance capabilities here at TriMet to really make sure we're pursuing the right cases. Julian has been an extremely effective advocate for TriMet, and also, I just say, for our employees who suffer assault and abuse on the system. And Julian has done just a really wonderful job in advocating for us, also meeting with our ATU on a regular basis and providing information to them so that they are at the table and understand what we're working on together. So really appreciate Julian's work. Again, you'll see him in the front row. That is at Hollywood, where we were doing a joint mission alongside of several members of our team, our transit police, our
they're gonna
customer
get
safety
those fare
supervisors.
evaders. They're gonna get them, man. We're gonna get them. You didn't pay your $250. We're gonna get you. And we're all making nice fat salaries doing it.
Obviously, our DA, and just to station up was our safety response team, who we don't put with them in joint missions, but available and nearby to deal with some of the folks that might be encountered out there on the system. So this contract has been very successful for TriMet. It allows us to have a DA, again, work alongside our team, but also become very knowledgeable of our system and TriMet-specific codes and rules, which helps the structure of cases and make them effective. So been very, very successful program. Next slide, please. You've heard me talk about, over this last year in particular, about some of the challenges we're seeing on.
That's all? Won't cost all those bus shelters? It's like only at 1.3 million? I thought it'd be more like 10 million. That's really not that much for TriMet. Don't forget, they're $2 billion over there. I'm surprised. I'm surprised it's that low.
On the system. It's not just us at TriMet, but the city and the region in general, and also just mass transit across the country.
Yeah, and that's caused by the collapse of civilization, which was caused by the shutting down of society, otherwise known as the scamdemic, and everybody ended up screwed, except for the elite classes, like all of these guys who got full pay from home for 2 years, while everybody else got the ditch.
Country, as I visit with peers, have seen an uptick, and the uptick has been primarily in Part 2 or Type 2 crime, things that are associated with misdemeanor. This is just one example of the type of work that a misdemeanor DA would be working on, which is kind of the vandalism and breakage of glass.
Yeah, throw them all in jail. Throw everybody in jail. Throw everybody in jail. Keep that pork flowing, but make sure you throw everybody in jail.
The folks that do this are repeat offenders. They're known to us in different circumstances. And so it's now costing TriMet about $1.3 million annually. And this is just for glass bus shelters and for LRV train windows.
That's nothing.
So not counting bus as well. So
Oh,
some significant upticks have
windows.
been happening. Now I'll say, if we could go to the next slide, please. A misdemeanor DA would allow us to centralize the 250 or 300 estimated active cases at any point in time that are out there. Currently, those are being handled by the entire DA's office, and so multiple DAs are being assigned to this. They don't have the familiarity with TriMet.
This is what's going to happen in society, man. They're going to throw a whole third of the society into jail to implement their new rule. And then they talk about equity and inclusion at the same time that they're throwing everybody in jail. I mean, it's such a farce.
and that decreases the effectiveness of that caseload and how it's managed and advocacy for TriMet. So we would like to add an additional misdemeanor DA to work alongside Julian, who he could train and partner with to improve the thoroughness and quality of the investigations, and also provide some succession planning when my friend moves on from us, which hopefully is years or decades from now. But that is important to the program. Now, I'll just bring up that misdemeanors don't just equate to property damage. These could be menacing claims. They could be minor assault claims that fall into that bucket as well. So this person would be working alongside Julian. Now, Julian serves as the felony DA. He has about 125 to 150 active cases at any point in time, so they're a little bit more high level. And so this would allow some of those smaller cases not to drag him away as well, too. So that's what we're asking for in relation to that. Now then, if we go to the next slide, please. You've heard me talk about a lot this year about our increases in staffing, and I actually be providing an annual report to this board in September on safety, the annual report, and you'll hear even more about that and some of the sustained momentum and reduction of some of the incidents that we've been seeing out there, which we've celebrated and are going to continue to work towards. I bring that up because one of the cases or the issues that we continue to struggle with is increasing our law enforcement personnel on the system. As you guys are aware, we're still at 19 of a budgeted 65. We've been able to move the needle on every other tool, but it's very difficult to find law enforcement to participate in our program, and that's not just unique to us. We're down law enforcement in the city in general. I bring that up because some of that has impacted the quality and thoroughness of our investigations of the crimes that are committed on the system as law enforcement personnel for TPD, as well as the adjacent and vital law enforcement like Portland Police Bureau have not been able to investigate the same way that they would have in the past with full staffing, that sort of thing. Bringing on 2 DA investigators would allow Julian and or a misdemeanor DA to be able to tap into quality, tenured professionals in this work of investigations. A lot of these are retired law enforcement. And they would be able to provide that thorough level of investigation to be able to build the cases and hold people accountable when necessary. It would also act as a force multiplier because our transit police will not necessarily have to be helping Julian craft cases by following up with surveillance, take witness statements, et cetera.
Surveillance?
They can spend more time on the system, and our DA investigators can assist with the investigations, if that makes sense. So I just want to put that out to you. That's one of the key pieces of this as well, is that we're going to free up transit police to do more work on the system and increase the quality of our investigations. So short, kind of and sweet kind of discussion there, but we wanted to open ourselves up for questions, and Julian is here with me as well to ask questions, so feel free to pepper him. He's a trained attorney, so he'll be fine. Any questions from everybody?
All right. Thank you very much. I see some questions coming up. Director Edwards?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much for that presentation. I just had a question about what level our CCTV is and how does that enhance the efforts in order to make sure that we're keeping folks safe and being able to nab, so to speak, those persons that are causing problems on our system. And what is the timetable, do you know, or can you share with us for upgrading that so that we do have a sense of security that can be shared with the public?
Why is their volume so
Not only
low?
the transit riders, but also the stations where they're waiting to get on transit.
That's a great question. You've heard me share about a security desk that we're building in our Operation Command Center at Center Admin.
Security desk.
We have been improving our security surveillance capabilities
Look at all these
dramatically over the last several
That guy's
years.
not right.
We are a real leader in this space now in the transit community for our surveillance. If you haven't been to our public safety office, I think I've invited several of you, but you'll be able to see kind of what we've been up to in terms of that capability. We had one person in that when I started in this role. We're now have 4, I think, active as of today. So Julie and I were just discussing that earlier. And those people are monitoring cameras and following up on investigations. But we're also building a security desk, which I mentioned earlier, which is going to be a 24-hour operation manned by dispatch personnel as well as contract personnel to really respond in real time to some of the events that are going out there, and using video surveillance to do that, to be able to send the right tool to that situation. Sometimes some of the
tool.
calls that come in are related to the best tool really is our safety response team. And you heard from Allison, one of our fabulous members earlier today. We'll be talking about that a little bit more today in terms of the safety response team, but it is truly best in class. And having the ability to send folks out to deal with houselessness issues, mental health issues, drug addiction issues, versus law enforcement personnel is the right approach, and it's the approach we've
Oh
taken
yeah,
as
you
a
heard
community.
that the governor and the legislature overrode the will of the voters and now has recriminalized everybody using drugs. So that will beef up the population. So between all of these new police state, we got more. We're going to throw them in over here. We're going to throw them in over there. We should get a very large uptick in prisoners. Should they were trying to get rid of the jail population, but as we can see, the New World Order is bringing in a massive influx of societal problems, which will be solved simply by throwing everybody in jail, which is the elite answer to everything.
Community engagement approach that we're using here
Oh,
at
look.
TriMet.
This guy, he's got his little TriMet bag. Look, that's a TriMet.
They are the best kind of tool for that. Now, I say that because we have a lot of different roles now across the agency, which we've developed over the last couple years to really enhance our ability to respond with the right level of personnel. Now is the time that we need to build that dispatch capability to be able to respond and send those out. And so excellent question, Director Edwards. And I'm excited to tell you that we are literally constructing that and also working with personnel to build that capability. So we have that dispatch capability at the security desk. And once we get it built, I would love to bring you all out. So
yeah, come on out. Look at our great place.
Body cams as well.
We've had body cam discussions in the past. We're not actively exploring that right now.
Yes! Body cams. You need your enforcement personnel who are writing tickets to have body cams. And he's saying, no, we don't want that kind of accountability. We don't want to be accountable. See, he just said, no, we're not going to do that. But that's to escape accountability. That's why they won't do the body cams. And, the TriMet personnel on the system are anonymous. Some of them are ruthless. Some of them are abusive. And none of them are accountable because there's no way to hold them to account. Eli has proven that over and over and over.
There's lots of questions around that technology. I'll tell you that right now with our surveillance capabilities, we have such good surveillance. A lot of the interactions are under
baloney. We can't hear any of the talking. When you're giving citations, you should be having body cams. Okay, we need to see that, and he's not going to do it because he's going to cover as much as he can. Their whole intention, these TriMet people, is to cover up as much as they can and to lie to our face at these meetings.
Under surveillance currently. So,
thank you.
That's a terrible answer.
And I saw a hand raised over here, Director Frisbee.
Thank you. And thank you both for being here today. I want to just take a moment and acknowledge.
Don't thank them. They're getting paid. They get paid. It's part of their fucking pay.
I think how challenging and important this work is. We know how important it is for our riders to feel safe on our system. We know how important it is for the TriMet team to feel safe on the system.
Our TriMet team.
And we know how important it is for possible riders to perceive that the system is safe. And at the same time, striking the balance between not unduly participating in a racist and unjust system that can be punitive and ruin people's lives in the other direction is a hard challenge. And so I really appreciate you both and your work and thoughtfulness. And I want to say, I know we've got the PPI contract up next. I personally feel I really appreciate that these are both coming here together. I really appreciate that this whole system is approached in the same way. And without the sort of increase and expansion of the safety response team and the work of the safety response team, I think I would probably have a lot more questions. So thank you.
I can't believe I subject myself to this crap.
Thank you, Allison, for your comments earlier in your work. Can you talk, and
Oh,
Deputy District Attorney Samuels, your name is spoken of glowingly by all of your team members. So, but I'm hoping you both can talk a little bit about the sort of prosecution side of things. And as I told Chief Safety Officer Wilson earlier, I will say I personally have a bias. I have family members whose lives have been ruined through a combination of bad choices and personal trauma and very zealous prosecutors.
there you go. Oh,
And so I just would love to sort of hear.
wow. She spoke in terms of like some sympathy for these people that are doing things wrong. She actually sounded like something is wrong here. You know, we have this system that just criminalizes everything, and that may not be right.
Hear how you approach that and navigate keeping the system safe and making sure that people are held accountable, and also, when it's possible, rehabilitating folks and helping them find a new opportunity afterwards.
His job, this DA's job, is not to really rehabilitate anybody. His job is to prosecute people. So you're asking the wrong guy. Well, let's hear what he says.
First, I want to say thank you to the entire board for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to speak. And to answer your question, Director Frisbee, when we're talking about prosecution with the TriMet Deputy District Attorney position, it's not over prosecution or blind prosecution. The goal is community safety, and the goal is also accountability. And the fact that TriMet and the transit system is so involved in not only Multnomah County, but the tri-counties as well, it's a situation where having the CCTV, having multiple deputy district attorneys being able to review reports, speak with investigators, and get to know the actual system is beneficial to community safety. And at the district attorney's office, there's multiple different programs that the deputy district attorneys have available to them to offer to defendants. Additionally, when a case comes in, it's reviewed, history is looked at, and the ultimate goal is not only community safety.
This guy here is part of the criminal justice industrial complex. The purpose of the criminal justice industrial complex is to grind you into pieces. Okay, once you get involved with this, they grind you up. Okay, they grind you up. This is not. We are the new Soviet Union. Okay, they used to say Russian gulags. We're now Russia here. We are that. We are that. We've turned into them. We've turned into the same kind of totalitarian society that they had.
Safety, but it's also to help that defendant get on the right path. The ultimate goal is zero police contact in that person's life going forward. And depending on the situation, that could be a treatment court or that could be incarceration, but that situation is always dependent on that defendant.
And let's remember, when you incarcerate people, you turn people that weren't criminals into criminals. They are now criminals. They're now stigmatized. They associate with criminals. They become career criminals. That's what this complex does to people. Nobody gets rehabilitated once you get into the police state industrial complex. They just grind you up. You become a non-person.
Is case by case, but the ultimate goal is zero police contact for cases that come in and for community safety overall.
Thank you.
I guess that's a good answer.
Thank you. Director Kellogg?
Thank you. First, Andrew, I want to thank you for, I spent about an hour and a half with you.
Okay, here's a new guy.
Last week.
Professional attorney. Look at him. He looks like Curly from the Three Stooges, doesn't he? He does.
Learning about all the different security personnel and their roles and things. And so I wanted to thank you for that. And then also DDA Samuels, thank you. As Director Frisbee said, your name is praised throughout the organization. So thank you for that work. Very supportive of the program, but I want to look at this from our role.
Let's read about Mr. Kellogg here. Let's read about him. Kellogg brings years of transportation and planning experience as a former member of the Tualatin City Council. During his tenure on Tualatin City Council, he focused on local transportation, leading to a successful $20 million bond measure, which looked at reducing bottlenecks. Okay, well, that's lovely. Kellogg began his public career with an appointment to Washington County Futures Transportation Study, which examined opportunities for the county's transportation system 50 years into the future. Oh, he was on the, yes, he was on the Southwest Corridor Light Rail Project Steering Committee, which makes him perfect for the board. In other words, he's a big light rail. Yeah, he ran a successful general law practice for 17 years. Okay. Oh, he worked in New York City at the offices of Latham and Watkins and representing creditors during bankruptcies. Boy. All right, well, whatever.
Of financial oversight and try to make sense out of the dollars, if you will. So the existing contract, 3 years, $978,000. What exactly does that pay for? I assume
go.
it's DDA Samuel's salary, benefits.
Yeah, that's a good question. Excellent, excellent.
What else is in that bucket?
Good. Let's hear
It's
it.
pretty much that. It's pretty much DA Samuel's salary.
1 million,
And
$1 million is for him? How much are they paying that guy? Get out of here. He's not making more than to sue.
that's what's in there.
Okay, but benefits, other things all included in that?
Yes, the whole package, yeah.
Okay. So by adding a second DA,
Wait a minute. That's the wrong answer, man. So they're adding over $1 million and they're just saying it's for one guy, but here it says two. And I also remember we just read that they're going to have some investigators, not just for him. So that security guy just gave the wrong answer. He doesn't know the material, obviously.
and 2 investigators, that cost increase to $2 million over the course
Of the last 2 years.
The
Yeah.
last 2 years.
Yeah, yeah. And I will say up to 2 DA investigators, because we're not sure if we're going to bring on 2. We just want to have the flexibility to do that in the last 2 years of the.
Yeah, we just have this extra $1 million, and so let's put it over here. Okay, yeah. Yep, that's how these elites think. Let's just take that money and stick it over here. Maybe we'll use it, maybe we won't. We'll have it in our bucket for whenever we want to give it to one of our favorite people.
Of the contract. But that's what we're asking for, yeah.
Okay. Just 2 substantive questions real quick. DDA Samuels, what's the most common felony that you prosecute for TriMet?
Good question. I'm liking this guy already. He's asking some hard questions.
That's a tough question because
It shouldn't be.
on the transit system, there's obviously a lot of criminal mischief in the first degree, which is property damage to the MAX bus shelters, as well as a lot of violent crimes too. So there's a lot of assault twos that we see as well, with either riders being attacked with
Rider versus rider is very common, but almost all the time, the person being attacked doesn't want police. It's like 99% of the time. Very seldom do we hear, and then the police don't even show up when they are.
with a dangerous weapon, or even TriMet ATU employees being attacked with a dangerous weapon. I would say it's really a mix of
I don't remember any TriMet employees being attacked by a dangerous weapon. I don't remember that. I remember stuff being thrown at them or their spit. No dangerous weapon has ever. Maybe PDX scanner can remember that, but I don't.
felony property crimes, as well as person crimes with assault 2 and criminal mischief 1 being 1 and 2. But also, a lot of times with the assault 2, you're also going to have an unlawful use of a weapon. So it's a very balance between
I don't know what
person
he's talking
crimes
about.
and property crimes.
We don't see that many weapons being used on the system, okay? We don't see that. I can't remember. We don't have shootings on the buses like Chicago or Baltimore. They're not shooting people on the buses here in Portland. We don't have that kind of crime over here in Portland. It's not the same as the East Coast. You have more of the, the crazy people stuff. The verbal arguments, the pushing, shoving, fighting.
crimes.
Okay, and with respect to those who were charged and convicted, are they thereafter excluded from the system? Is that an option?
There's always constant discussion with TriMet's legal counsel regarding exclusions.
Yeah, we've really elevated our exclusions. Sam reviews every one of them. That goes into a certain period of time where we actually have an extended exclusion period. That's an additional tool that we've added over the last year and a half. Still makes it difficult for us to prevent that person from accessing, but what it does is it elevates that. We are able to publicize it, and when they are found in an additional incident, we can bring up the fact that they were excluded, which then can add to the charges and those types of
Yeah,
things.
that makes sense because you can't stop anybody from using it. And I also have a problem with the whole idea of exclusion for public transportation because that's like saying you can never walk down this road again. You can't walk down the road because you committed a crime on the road. So now you can't use this road. And that's what they're doing here. This is a public service agency. You can't exclude the public, whether you like it or not. But you're in this neoliberal hellhole called Portland, where they do everything wrong, basically, and that's why Portland is such a mess.
So we do that, and as Julian
Jeez, this
completes
episode's
investigations,
long.
that information is shared with our legal team and eventually is signed off on by Sam too. So,
Director Kellogg, I just would add that earlier this year, the board approved through an ordinance the ability to expand the general manager's discretion to issue exclusions in high crime cases. And he has used that discretion on a number of occasions in the last 7 months. I think about 7 or 8 have been issued. All of those individuals have been served while incarcerated and awaiting trial. So we've been able to serve them.
Great. Well, thank you for the information.
Okay,
I
so
wanna
there's
make that-
7 people in jail right now for committing crimes on TriMet. Interesting. I didn't know that. 7 or 8, she said. Interesting.
I know we all agree security and safety is an essential part of what we do. So thank you.
Do you have a comment? Yes. Would you like to say some more, Director Edwards?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, God, this goes on forever.
Given, just to kind of piggyback on that question, where does drug use come in? Because I know that we've had increased incidences of drug use, especially on the MAX light rail.
Yeah.
And so where does that come into play?
Yeah, where does
with
that come?
regard to
Good
those
question.
prosecutions?
yeah, I mean, obviously, drug use in the system is not allowed. Smoking even on the system is not allowed, has always been that way, right? We're seeing that nexus now where people are smoking drugs on the system. So, and we've been tracking that actually in the annual report that I provide in September. We're slated to provide the safety annual report. You remember, similar to last year, I'm going to have some updated stats in terms of what we're doing on inhalation claims, which are those claims that involve drug use on the system. But I will say that our community is facing a real drug epidemic on the streets. I think we all are aware of that. We are a pretty open system, and so that is, hurting us at TriMet in terms of our safety outcomes, has been for some time. Increasing presence, you see what our strategy is there. That has really helped reduce some of these interactions, which we'll talk about. But also, we've tried to reach out to our peers, create teams that know how to deal with addiction in thoughtful, proactive ways to connect people to resources, those types of things. So I really think TriMet is at the table with our community engagement kind of approach and doing a very good job in our community of being a change agent for kind of
You're so full of shit.
expectations around drug use and also trying to help people in the throes of addiction. So it is certainly something that is top of mind. We have certain areas that we focus on where there's distribution or dealing that we're aware of. We have heat map kind of indications on that. And so we do put personnel in those areas to at least protect our riders as we pass through some of those environments. But that's an ongoing struggle for us. And again, increased presence, increased law enforcement abilities, and increased prosecution in some cases are really the best tools we have. I will say, access control, you heard that today. I could go on for days about that. You've heard me talk about that in the past. I just want to respond to that a little bit this morning in the sense that we did complete that pilot. We made some obligations about wanting to hear feedback from the entire community because we don't want to exclude people from use. But at the same time, I will tell you the preliminary feedback, we have a meeting on that later this week, is very positive. And that's really thrilling to me in this role because Hollywood is just one area that's challenged by this. So if we can find some solutions related to access control, that's an additional tool we haven't had at the table. I'm really excited about what they can do, not only for us, but for others around the country. So.
And directors, if I may, just to add to that answer, for example, this morning, I also review misdemeanor and felony cases that are related to TriMet. And this morning, a case came in that's a misdemeanor case, and I'm going to go back to the office and review that case for its final decision. However, at this time, someone else from the office is reviewing it in case I don't get back in time. But I'm here because I understand how important this meeting is, not only to TriMet, the DA's office of community safety, but having that second deputy district attorney. They understand the TriMet policies, they understand the TriMet mission statement, and that would alleviate any concern I have about me or whoever's in my position not being able to look at cases.
Thank you both very much. I just, applaud you because we want to make sure that TriMet doesn't come off as just being punitive. We want to make sure that if we can help people.
Oh, no, you
direct
don't
them to
want
resources,
to be
that's what we wanna
punitive, do you? Right, which you are.
Well put, Director Edwards. I'd love to echo that sentiment briefly by acknowledging that it's clear that you're coming with a broad lens of how to address these issues, from addressing the backlog to the decriminalization efforts, to having folks within your kit of parts, your toolbox, as it were, because arsenal is not the right term in this case. Like Allison, folks with lived experience that I think are quickly becoming the sharpest, most instrumental bridge element to building that trust bridge between the public and every other piece of this system that is on the spectrum of enforcement. So I really appreciate that you're coming forward with that broad lens. I acknowledge that you're coming to this with a very humanist perspective, and I want to acknowledge that we did receive a letter of support from the District Attorney's Office about this particular resolution. So we have received that letter. I believe our board members have all been able to have a copy of it. And so with all of that, I'm simply looking forward into this, realizing that all of these tools, while they are uniquely useful in different situations, they all, none of them are necessary if we can address the way in which we interact as a civil society. We've got a lot of making up to do, but I know that we're out there in the public in a very complicated world, and so it's great to have every potential perspective, every lived experience, every tool in the shed at our disposal to do this work.
Every tool in the shed. Ozzy, you're full of shit.
The last thing I want to say before I see if there's any more comments before our vote is that the world is watching. The nation has taken note. I've noticed what little interactions I've had with other agencies. They're watching the work that TriMet is doing right now.
Well, yeah, you're the leader.
And a lot of folks, cities much larger than ours.
You're the leader in everything over here. They're watching TriMet because you're the leader in everything. Yes, you're certainly the leader in everything. Leader in technology, leader in safety, leader in light rail, leader in transit, leader in everything. They're all watching you, Ozzy. Okay, yeah. God, I get tired of listening to this self-congratulatory garbage. Jesus.
Are paying attention to the tools that are being brought forward.
Shut up with your tools. Shut up with your
thanks for
fucking
coming out.
tools. Shut up with your tools. They're not tools. They're policies, okay?
at this, being willing to learn and explore new frontiers with this. I appreciate the support of our partners. I simply hope that to get together, they're all seeing that in the end, what we want, as you so well put, is not more interactions with police, but less reasons to have those interactions, by making sure people are taking care of each other, taking care of the system, and in the end, creating a useful, safe, reliable thing for us all. So with that, are there any other comments? I see Director Edwards has a comment.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a comment and a question, and I'm probably going to need some direction here. I have a language issue that I'm concerned about at the end of the first paragraph under background, where it says DA relies upon the services of investigators to help develop the facts supporting the charges. That word just bothers me. I would like some wordsmithing, perhaps using the word ascertain or something. I don't like the idea of developing facts to support charges.
So the general counsel, she's looking at it now, and
Are we in the board memo? Are we in the memo or in the actual resolution?
And actual, it's under the memo, yes.
So the memo's just a,
Section 6, background.
The language of the actual resolution, item 6.
Yeah, no, it's not the language of the resolution.
Oh, it's the background.
It's the background.
Thank
the
you.
memo is
But it's
just
just the
from,
language in there that kind of gives the intent that we're trying to develop facts instead of ascertaining the facts.
so the memo is not binding. It's just informatory for you, but perhaps you could address that you're not,
No, I think it's, yeah.
Fabricating
absolutely.
facts.
I think ascertain's a much better word for a variety of reasons.
we'll note that for future reference. Thanks.
Thank you.
That would be great to be able to make that adjustment then for the final record in the background, understanding the resolution remains intact.
And Director Gonzalez, or President Gonzalez, I should say, want to just close after Andrews and Deputy DA Samuel's presentation to say thank you, first and foremost, and then want to just give you a quick update on the financial impact. This modification increases the total amount authorized by the IGA to just over $2 million over the remaining 2 years of the term. This amount is included in TriMet's approved FY24 budget for Safety and Security Division, and I recommend your approval.
Yeah.
If there are no other comments, I'd like to move us to a vote. All of those in. Did we move already? No? Did we go right into presentation discussion? Thank you. I'd like to request a motion. I have a motion here from Director Edwards. Do we have a second?
Second.
I heard Director Kellogg on this one.
Yeah, give it to him.
You wouldn't notice this is Director Kellogg's first meeting. Way to go. Way to go. We have a motion and a second. All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, this motion carries.
All right,
All
Oz.
right.
Yeah, I like it. I like that Ozzy's using. I like that Ozzy's using the little hammer thing. All right, God, this just went on forever, didn't it? I'm sorry. All right, throw him in jail. Over and out.